America is watching Iran. Iran is watching America. But the person watching both of them more carefully than anyone else on earth right now is Vladimir Putin. And what Putin sees from Moscow is not a Middle East conflict. What Putin sees is the greatest strategic opportunity Russia has had in 30 years, and he is not going to waste it. Most people think of the Russia-Ukraine war and the Iran-America confrontation as two separate conflicts happening into separate parts of the world. That is exactly how Putin wants you to think about it. Because as long as the world sees these as separate stories, nobody is watching what Putin is actually doing. Nobody is tracking the moves he is making in the background while everyone's attention is locked on Tehran and Washington. This video is about those moves, because Putin's next move is not on the battlefield in Ukraine. It is not in the Arctic. It is not in Africa. Putin's next move is happening right now in the space between America's distraction and the world's inattention. And when it lands, it will change the strategic picture in ways that will take years to fully understand. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you are going to understand exactly what Putin is watching, exactly what he is planning, and exactly why the timing of his next move is the most dangerous part of all. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, please subscribe. I cover the things that the headlines miss, and right now the headlines are missing Vladimir Putin entirely. Let's get into it. To understand Putin's next move, you need to understand how Putin thinks about power, because Putin does not think about power the way Western leaders think about power. Western leaders think about power in terms of elections, in terms of quarterly results, in terms of news cycles. They ask, what can I achieve before the next vote? What can I show voters before they go to the polls? What story can I tell about progress within a manageable time frame? Putin thinks about power in terms of decades, in terms of historical arcs, in terms of civilizational competition. He does not ask, what can I achieve before the next election? He asks, what position do I want Russia to occupy in 20 years, in 50 years, and what moves do I need to make today to get there? This difference in thinking is not just a personality quirk. It is the fundamental reason why Western analysts keep underestimating Putin. They apply a short-term framework to a long-term player, and they keep being surprised when his moves do not follow the short-term logic they expect. Putin has been watching America for 30 years. He watched America expand NATO eastward after promising not to. He watched America invade Iraq on false pretenses. He watched America destroy Libya and walk away from the chaos. He watched America withdraw from Afghanistan in humiliation. He watched America's political system tear itself apart from the inside, and he drew conclusions from all of these observations. Conclusions that inform everything he is doing right now. The conclusion Putin drew is this: America is a declining power that does not know it is declining. It still acts with the confidence of a unipolar superpower. It still makes commitments it cannot keep. It still projects strength in places where that strength is being quietly eroded, and it is incapable of focusing on more than one major crisis at a time. That last point is the most important one for what Putin is doing right now. America cannot fight everywhere simultaneously. America cannot maintain maximum pressure on Russia and Ukraine while also managing a major confrontation with Iran in the Middle East, while also deterring China in the Pacific, while also managing its own domestic economic crisis. The cognitive bandwidth does not exist. The financial bandwidth does not exist. The military bandwidth does not exist. Putin knows this, and Putin has been waiting for exactly this moment when America is stretched across multiple crises simultaneously and cannot give full attention to any single one of them. That moment has arrived, and Putin is moving. The first thing Putin is doing is exactly what we covered in our previous video. He is equipping Iran, advanced air defense systems, satellite intelligence, economic lifelines through sanctions-busting networks. Each one of these transfers makes Iran harder to defeat. Each one makes the American confrontation with Iran more expensive. Each one pulls more American attention, more American resources, more American political capital into the Middle East and away from Europe. This is deliberate. Every transfer to Iran is also a transfer of American attention away from Ukraine. Every $1 billion America spends on intercepting Houthi drones in the Red Sea is $1 billion not being spent on artillery shells for Ukraine. Every aircraft carrier America deploys to the Persian Gulf is an aircraft carrier not positioned to deter Russian moves in the North Atlantic or the Baltic Sea. Putin is using Iran as a vacuum cleaner, sucking American resources and attention into the Middle East so that the space in Europe becomes less monitored, less resourced, less defended, and into that space Putin intends to move. But the equipment transfers to Iran are just the first layer of what Putin is doing. The second layer is happening in Europe, and it is happening faster than most European governments want to acknowledge. Europe is exhausted. The political support for Ukraine in European capitals is not what it was in 2022. The populations of France, Germany, Italy, and Hungary are showing increasing fatigue with the cost of supporting Ukraine. Energy prices remain elevated. Economic growth is sluggish. Inflation has not fully subsided, and the political movements that favor accommodation with Russia are gaining electoral ground across the continent. Putin is not just watching this exhaustion. Putin is cultivating it. Russian information operations are active across European social media. Russian money has historically flowed into European political movements that favor ending the conflict on terms favorable to Moscow. Russian diplomatic signals are being sent to European capitals suggesting that A negotiated settlement is possible if Europe is willing to pressure Ukraine into concessions. The goal is not to win the argument in every European country. The goal is to create enough division that European support for Ukraine becomes unreliable, that NATO unity begins to show cracks, that the unified Western response to Russian aggression starts to fray at the edges, and it is working. Hungary has blocked multiple EU decisions on Ukraine. Slovakia has shifted toward accommodation. Elections in France and Germany have strengthened parties that favor dialogue with Moscow. The coalition that stood united in 2022 is not as united in 2026, and Putin sees every crack as an opportunity. The third thing Putin is doing is the one that receives the least attention, and it may be the most consequential. Putin is building a parallel world order, not alone, but in partnership with China, Iran, North Korea, and a growing number of countries across the global south that have concluded that the American-led international system does not serve their interests. This is not a formal alliance with a signed treaty and a headquarters building. It is something more fluid and more durable than that. It is a network of bilateral relationships, economic arrangements, military partnerships, and diplomatic alignments that collectively create an alternative to American-led institutions. China provides the economic architecture, the Belt and Road infrastructure, the alternative payment systems, the manufacturing capacity that keeps sanctioned economies functioning. Russia provides the military technology and the nuclear umbrella. Iran provides the regional disruption capacity in the Middle East. North Korea provides missile technology and a willingness to absorb risk that more cautious actors will not. The Global South provides the political legitimacy, the votes in international forums, the diplomatic cover that prevents this from being framed as simply Russia and China against the West. Together, these relationships create a system that is increasingly capable of operating independently of American approval, independently of the dollar, independently of Western financial institutions, independently of the rules-based international order that America built and America leads. Putin does not expect this system to replace the American-led order immediately. He expects it to gradually erode American power and American influence over a period of decades. Each year, the alternative system becomes more functional. Each year, more countries join or align with it. Each year, the American-led system loses a little more of its automatic legitimacy. This is the long game Putin is playing, and the Iran confrontation is one piece of it. Now let's talk about timing, because timing is everything in strategy, and the timing of Putin's next move is what makes the current moment so dangerous. Putin is not going to make his major move while America is fully attentive and fully resourced. He is going to wait. He is going to watch. He is going to let the Iran situation develop. Let American resources flow into the Middle East. Let American political attention consume itself in the debate over what to do about Iran. Let American munitions stockpiles draw down. Let European unity continue to fray. Let the economic pressure on American households continue to build. And then, when the moment of maximum American distraction arrives, Putin will move. What does that move look like? There are several possibilities, and Putin has likely prepared for multiple scenarios depending on how events develop. The first scenario is a major escalation in Ukraine, a large-scale offensive that pushes deeper into Ukrainian territory at a moment when American attention and resources are directed elsewhere. The calculation would be that America cannot simultaneously manage a Middle East crisis and provide the level of support Ukraine needs to stop a major Russian advance. Something would have to give, and Putin is betting that Ukraine would be the thing that gives. The second scenario is pressure on NATO's eastern flank, not a direct attack on a NATO member, which would trigger Article 5 and a collective response, but something more ambiguous: hybrid warfare, cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, provocations in the Baltic states, pressure on Finland or Sweden as the newest and least integrated NATO members, actions that test the alliance's cohesion without clearly crossing the line that would unite it. The third scenario is a move in a theater where America is not currently focused: Africa, the Arctic, the Western Balkans, places where Russian influence has been growing quietly and where a decisive move could change the strategic landscape without triggering the kind of response that a European escalation would. Putin does not need to choose one of these scenarios now. He can keep all of them ready. He can watch how the Iran situation develops. He can watch how America responds. He can watch how Europe holds together or falls apart, and he can choose the moment and the location that offers the maximum return for the minimum risk. This is the strategic luxury that patience buys, and Putin has been patient for a long time. There is one more thing worth saying, because it changes how you should think about everything we have discussed. Putin is not improvising. This is not a series of opportunistic decisions made in response to events as they develop. This is a strategy, a coherent, long-term, carefully constructed strategy that has been in development for years. The equipment transfers to Iran, the cultivation of European political division, the construction of the parallel world order with China, the timing calculations around American distraction. These are not separate decisions. They are connected pieces of a single strategic vision, a vision in which American power gradually retreats from the world stage, in which the rules-based international order gradually loses its authority, in which Russia gradually recovers the geopolitical weight it lost when the Soviet Union collapsed. Putin has been working toward this vision for 20 years, and from his perspective, he has never been closer to achieving it than he is right now. America is distracted in the Middle East. Europe is divided and exhausted. China is growing stronger. The global south is drifting away from Western alignment. The dollar faces its most serious challenge as the world's reserve currency in decades, and the domestic political divisions inside America have reached a level that limits its ability to project coherent foreign policy in any direction. From Putin's perspective, the alignment of circumstances could not be more favorable. The trap that Iran set for America is also the opportunity that Russia intends to exploit, and the question that nobody in Washington has fully answered is this: can America manage an Iran confrontation, a Russia challenge, a China competition, and a domestic economic crisis all at the same time, with a divided political system, declining public support for foreign engagement, and finite resources? History suggests the answer is no. No power in history has successfully managed simultaneous pressure on multiple fronts without making painful concessions somewhere, and the countries applying that pressure know this. Iran knows this, Russia knows this, China knows this. They are not coordinating in a formal sense, but they are all reading the same strategic reality and drawing the same conclusions about where America's limits lie. Putin's next move is not a single action. It is a continued patient execution of a strategy designed to exploit those limits, to find the point where America has to make a choice about what it cannot afford to defend, and to be positioned to take advantage of that moment when it arrives. That moment has not yet arrived, but it is getting closer, and Putin is watching, calculating, waiting, with a patience that the American political system is structurally incapable of matching. Let me bring this together. Putin is watching America fall into Iran's trap, and he sees three things that no one in Washington wants to say out loud. He sees American resources being consumed in the Middle East at a rate that is unsustainable. He sees European unity fracturing under the pressure of economic exhaustion and political division, and he sees a window of strategic opportunity that is opening and will not stay open forever. His next move is not a single dramatic action. It is a continuation of the patient strategy he has been executing for years, equipping Iran, dividing Europe, building the parallel world order with China, and waiting for the moment of maximum American distraction to make his decisive move, wherever that move turns out to be. The most dangerous part of all of this is not what Putin is doing. It is what America is not doing. America is not building a coherent strategy to counter this. America is reacting, crisis by crisis, headline by headline, election cycle by election cycle, while Putin plans in decades and in a competition between a reactive power and a patient one. History tells us very clearly which side tends to win. This story is not finished. The next move is coming, and when it arrives, the context we have built across these 3 videos will help you understand it in ways that the evening news never will. If this gave you a clearer picture of what is actually happening, subscribe, because the pieces of this puzzle are still moving, and you are going to want to be watching when they land. I will see you in the next one.